Welcome to Literally Books, the podcast where we read literally anything because it should not be a saga to find your next favorite read. I'm Lindsay.
My name is Magda.
And this week we are talking about sci-fi for mystery lovers. We have a wonderful guest, Michelle at Bibliovino, our resident book and wine pairing expert. But before we get into all of that, Magda, what are you reading?
I am officially in another little reading slump.
Which means you're only reading 55 books a week instead of,
No, I did not read anything this past new week. I did finish something last weekend that I didn't get to talk about in our when we last recorded, which is Caught Up by Navessa.
I see this everywhere online.
This is exactly why I put myself in line in Libby, because I'm like, what is the deal with this book? And I love the cover of the book.
Yeah,
I think they're so cool.
It's like almost like Punisher-esque or something.
Yeah, I love that. It's like a black and red, like orange blood type of color, and it is so like, I love that. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. I need to know what's going on with this. I didn't realize that it's part of a series and this is book 2, but again, it's gonna be one of those, like, it sounds like it's an independent story, so you don't really have to read the first one, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it is a very, very dark romance smut. Heavy. You would not like this book at all. It has a little bit of mafia. The girl is a webcam girl that she makes a lot of money online. It does explore a lot of limits through, about sexuality and what people feel comfortable with. And like, it's like a different type of lifestyle, but it's very smut heavy. So it was I didn't know what to get into. I got in it and I'm like, oh, this is a lot. It was a little too much. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you like your little really dark romance smut, I think you're going to enjoy this book. I think there's an audience for this out there.
1,000.
It just kind of took me by surprise. I did finish it, so here we are, but I don't think you would like this one. But I was really intrigued because I've been seeing this
I have too.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And the author seems really cool. Like, her online presence is pretty awesome. So like, if you're into this kind of like genre, I think people are going to enjoy it. But it was a little too dark for me personally.
I get why there's such a huge draw for those. And this is like where you and I differ, because I love a toxic relationship, but I don't like a dark romance.
There's stalking. There's a lot of stalking involved, and you kind of try to be okay with it. I don't know. I think for me personally, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to kind of be okay with some of that. I get it, in a fantasy world, it might work, but it was enough for me.
Yeah, I get it.
But if you're into it, hey, more power to you. What about you?
I finished a couple of books this week. I think I maybe talked about this last time. I can't remember. I finished When in Rome by Sarah Adams.
What did you think?
It was very cute.
So
I really
cute.
liked it. It wrapped up quite quickly. I was like, okay. But yeah, if you're looking for like just an easy breezy romance novel, it's going to give you that. I finished The Compound by Aisling Rawle.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm actually going to there's a review that's going to come out tomorrow, the time we're recording this, but I will have already put it out. Magda, I picked this book up on a whim. I don't know why I picked it up. I think it was like a Libro FM recommended book, and I was so excited about it that I bought a digital copy of the book too, because I like couldn't always listen to it, and I'm a much faster reader than I am listener.
Oh wow.
And I was like so enticed to finish it that I wanted like dual versions.
Oh wow, okay.
So basically it's like, imagine if Love Island met Hunger Games. So like, we're seeing it from the perspective of one of these contestants on a Love Island type show. It's the exact same concept where they have to couple up with someone, and if they don't couple up, they get booted. And then they have to do these like tasks. Some of them are communal, some of them are individual. The communal tasks are for like basic necessities. So like things that they need for the house to like kind of zhuzh it up, which they're supposed to be doing, and like meals and things like that. And then they can do personal tasks for like luxury items and brand deals and things like that. But then they're like, it's sort of like a dystopian novel. There's like war going on in the background. So like a lot of the motivation for here is like, it's a much better life if you can stand to be on the show. But they're like allowed to do physical violence to get people to leave. Like, it's so weird.
I'm sold.
It's
I
like
love the idea of
Chain
it.
Gang All-Stars for the girlies. Like, it's a
I
little
love
less
it.
intense than that, but similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I don't even need to watch the review. I'm going to go try to get this.
It's so good. And it's Aisling Rawle's first novel, or her debut novel, which I'm like, I cannot wait to see what she writes next. It's like a little bit, it's everything I love. It's reality TV and all the things of reality TV, but like also has a lot of depth. I loved it.
I love it. Okay. I am picking this up. That sounds amazing.
Yes, it's so good. Anyway, I'll shut up about it. And then the last thing is in preparation for our upcoming live show at Lark and Owl, I finished The Night in the Moth, which I'm not going to say anything more about other than I love Rachel Gillig so fucking much. She's
a fantastic writer.
She's so good.
And her world building is beautiful.
Her magic systems are my favorite magic systems. They make sense. Their rules stick throughout. They're easy to understand. She sets them up so quickly. She's so great.
Yeah, and I love how she plays a lot with religious themes throughout the books.
I
And
know.
it's so good. Oh, I can't wait to talk more about this book. I loved it.
I can't. I love her so much.
Yeah, can't wait. So yeah, go. Probably like, is this gonna be your? No, it's not gonna be your next episode or live show. I think it's gonna come out 2 weeks after this one comes out. So I'm so excited. It's gonna be fun.
Something new, something scary.
I know. That's how you grow.
That's how you grow.
All right, you want to take a little bit of a break?
Let's do it. Okay, we are going to get into our primary discussion today, which is sci-fi for mystery lovers with Michelle from @Bibliovino online. Michelle is a book lover and hoarder who reads and reviews 30 to 40 books a month. When she's not supporting her habit by teaching music to tiny humans in West Texas, she gets joy from reading, stickers, and eating in no particular order, but preferably together. Michelle is a judge for the self-published science fiction competition and the Sibbles Award, as well as the founding moderator of the Mini Realms Sci-Fi Fantasy independently published book contest which launched in January, and of which I am a judge and have had the pleasure of reading many of these amazing independent authors. You can find her and her wine on TikTok and Bookstagram @Bibliovino, where she also features interviews with authors in her book tasting series featured in her stories. Welcome.
Welcome.
We're so excited. We've had you on the show before, but we've never gotten to meet you in person.
That's right. That worked out so well today.
I know.
So exciting.
Welcome to Austin. I'm sorry that it's literally the deluge right now.
It is, but it's fine. I get to see it in all its many forms.
Yeah, you're really
Just
getting
a really wet
great
form.
taste of the city.
That's right.
So we're so glad to have you here in person. And I think before we get started, what was your last 5-star read?
Well, as it happens, it was a sci-fi book. It didn't quite fit the theme of today's show, but it was close. It was Of Monsters and Mainframes. So I don't know if you've heard of this one.
I have not.
Or not. So this is a new release, and it is a kind of a love letter for classic monsters and space junkies. So it's about an AI-driven ship that gets attacked by several classic monsters over the course of its journey. So you got vampires, werewolves, aliens. So it's a really interesting read, and it kind of has this wonderful love story that goes on inside of it as well. So if you are interested in any of those things, this is the book of the summer. So I would definitely pick it up.
Like a space odyssey almost.
You also introduced me to a new term, which is classic monsters.
Classic
Well, as soon as
monsters.
you said them, I was like, oh, duh. That
makes
more
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be a non-classic monster?
Well, I think kind of a new age, like something that
Gothing?
you've written for the purpose of your own story.
Well, sure. Like
Oh.
if you're thinking of like the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise, that would be like a non-classic
Yes.
monster. That would be a
Okay.
new monster.
All right.
Good choice. One of my favorite film franchises.
Favorite.
Magda knows this. Alien is my comfort watch. Aliens.
Aliens
in particular.
2, obviously.
Yeah, the second one is the best one. I feel strongly about that. But
I mean, the first one is art house,
yes.
right? But the second one is that's a comfort watch.
It's a
for
comfort
sure.
watch, and I watch it before I go to sleep, which I think is maybe
That
not
is-
normal.
Well, because Michael Biehn is so comforting.
yeah. They're quiet movies, though. Like, weirdly, they are really good for sleeping. It's just, the death part.
Until the
that's
Marines come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The suspense builds up kind of easily on that quietness. So it's kind of nice.
Yes. Yeah.
So, we were kind of chatting online and we were kind of discussing hey, maybe we should do an episode together. And you're the one that recommended doing some sci-fi reads for mystery lovers. What kind of drew you to this topic?
Well, I think definitely I want to make sure that anybody who thinks that they don't like sci-fi has a road to sci-fi. And so I think one of the things that's so popular, perennially popular, is mystery and thriller. And so I think that sci-fi does that really, really well because there's a great suspense that's drawn in by space or by robots or things like that. And so I think there's definitely sci-fi out there for people who think that, oh, I love mystery, but I'm not really into sci-fi. So I wanted to make sure that people knew that there are books out there for them.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about when we were talking about this topic too? Like, it's a really interesting construct to stick the mystery genre into because, like, mysteries that, like, standard mysteries, right? You are working with the confines of, like, a current reality most of the time. And so, like, it can be sometimes really easy to guess things because
Oh
you're,
yeah.
like, not trying to take in any new information. You don't have the, like, barrier of a new world to also distract you a little bit. It's a
Right.
good sleight of hand, I think, to be like, you have to
Absolutely.
learn this new world, but also these crazy things are happening.
So you don't have the pattern recognition that you have
Right.
when you're just reading a standard mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really, as we started delving into this, I was like, maybe I do really like this genre that I have
Yeah.
never thought about once before.
Yeah, you just kind of like when you go into a sci-fi book, you just kind of go in it, but yeah, I guess our mind becomes so like limited and we just kind of keep looking forward to the sci-fi, but there's a lot of different themes that we can kind of
Right.
find within
And you
these
can
books.
also expand it. Like I expanded it a little bit in the books that I'm going to talk about today, not just like sci-fi when you think about like aliens or spaceships or robots, but speculative fiction, which
Yes,
expands
my
it out
favorite
a little
genre.
bit more,
Mm-hmm.
where you're dealing with like alternate history or angels and demons, things
Ooh.
like that, where it's not necessarily like the kinds of like science fiction that you think about like hard sci-fi, but speculative fiction, which brings it out into a much broader, almost sci-fantasy, where you can get a lot more elements involved.
Yeah, this resurgence of speculative fiction, like one of my favorite books, it was that I read in the last year was Chain Gang All Stars, speculative fiction, like dystopian, but also like elements of science fiction, elements of all these other
Of
things.
our own history,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly right.
I thought you were gonna say the Dream Hotel.
Oh, well, now the Dream
That one-
Hotel I could talk about for 10 years, but we'll let Michelle talk first, and then I'll dig into, my obsession with all of these new speculative fiction books.
So with that, Michelle, what would be your very first recommendation
Yeah,
that you want to tell
let's
the
get into
listeners?
it.
Well, my first recommendation for people that haven't read it yet is Dan Brown's Angels and Demons.
Ooh.
So if you haven't picked up this book yet, this book and the series that follows it is obviously very popular. There's the last one, a new one that's coming out that he's finishing, and he's finishing the series, and there's going to be a movie that goes with it. Obviously, there's movies that go with all of these. And there is a big mystery to solve in each one of these books. But there's also a lot of this sort of speculative fiction, science fiction that's involved in these stories that also has ties into alternate history. So you've got, the threads of history that we're all very familiar with, or biblical history that he ends up getting really involved in because he's involved in symbology and things like that. But also, it's a little bit different. There's a tweak on it, or there's a mystery to solve, not just with a death or something like that, but also with the symbology that he's trying to go after. So Angels and Demons is a really good one, and I think that it's something that people are really familiar with. Maybe they've watched the movie, but getting involved in the books really does open up this idea of speculative fiction to people.
Interesting. That's a Tom Hanks? Is it Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
In that movie?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I am a sucker for like biblical themes in movies. Like Constantine is one of my
Constantine.
favorite movies, and
yeah.
there's some really good comics out there. I am just a sucker for good, like the traditional good versus evil, heaven versus hell. Oh, it's probably my Catholic upbringing, though.
If you like that one, I have to say that I have another recommendation that's very similar to that one that I actually like even better. And
Ooh.
this series has something like over 30 books, and she just keeps writing. This is by Adjei-Brenyah. It's called The Belial Sons, and that's the first book in this series that literally just never stops. And it definitely has a lot of elements of biblical history, but also archaeology, angels and demons. They bring in things like the Nazi bell. There's so many things that are involved in this series, and it all sort of goes around this woman who is kind of like supposed to be like this sort of savior of the world because she's got all these powers or whatever, but she has to keep going up against all these different enemies, and many of them are like the archangels that are these fallen angels that have come down, Nephilim, all of these different things. And so every single book is this huge like battle that she's having to fight and go up against all these different things. This is a really interesting series, and every single book has a great big like mystery or thriller or, action thing that has to happen in order for the next thing to come along. So I would definitely recommend it. So again, this is like the Belial series. It's by Adjei-Brenyah. So really, really interesting series and lots of action.
Is it a book? Is it a series where you have to have read the prior books?
Oh yeah, you're definitely going to want to read the prior books. And this actually comes in chunks. So there's like a first series where it's like 14 books in that series. And then there's a next series where there's like 14 books in that series. And like I said, they just keep coming. Like she comes out with a book like every 11 to 14 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. These are your Depression era books
Yes.
where you're like, I'm not moving from my bed. I need to be here living
sure.
somewhere else for an extended period of time.
For sure. And these are all on Kindle Unlimited too.
Oh,
Great.
nice. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Are you entering your Depression era? We recommend this series to you. You'll have so many.
Here's like an informational.
No, I'm just kidding. Cool. Okay. What do you got for us next?
Something that's similar to that as far as just like the action of it that I just can't stop like thinking about the action of it is the Breakthrough series by Michael C. Glumley, which is actually like there's this amazing scientific breakthrough where people are able to suddenly talk to dolphins. And so they come across this technology where they're able to talk to dolphins, and all of a sudden there's this like effect. Where's that? What am I going for?
Like a ripple effect?
Yeah, like a ripple effect where they're able to talk to all these marine animals, and it turns out that they know about this alien presence that's in the ocean.
This is a theory. This is a conspiracy theory in life. That I sort of subscribe to, which is like I find the ocean to be the most interesting part of our world because I think we truly have no idea what's going on down there.
About it.
It's the most unknown.
Yes, and there's so many like creatures that keep just like spouting. I think like most likely if there was an alien life force that has ever visited us, it's living in our freaking ocean.
It's living in the ocean
Yeah.
for sure.
100%.
So the marine life knows all about it. They kind of have like a symbiotic relationship with it, and they lead the humans down to this alien sort of ship that's down there because there's something that has to happen between the aliens and the humans. And so that's like a 3 or 4.
Shit, now we have to deal with like these idiot humans.
Exactly.
This like wonderfully adaptive marine life.
Exactly. We were chilling with the fish, and they brought the humans into it. But so they have that. This is like a 3 or 4 book series. I don't remember exactly, but really interesting and a lot of fun. So if that's something that you're interested in, especially if you're interested in marine life or dolphins or whales, like I think that's a really great series to dive into.
Yeah, and you were just reading.
I was just gonna say
bring it
that.
up.
This reminds me of Fluke by Christopher Moore. Have you read that one yet?
Yes.
And that has to do more with like the whale callings. And there's like this whole conspiracy theory with aliens and living forever and all of this type of things. So it reminds me a lot of those same themes of the book that you just mentioned.
I'm just saying, when you have a collective conscious idea like that, where you're like, people are just coming to the conclusion that like alien life and marine life are connected. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was doing this decades ago. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What is it called? The what record? Oh shoot. That it's like an A word.
Oh, it's not coming to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like that we have a collective conscious and it's all around us, and Akashic record, the Akashic record.
I never heard of that.
phrase before.
You don't watch enough Ancient Aliens.
I watch no Ancient Aliens, but now I know.
You know. Yeah. Okay, so are you ready for me to dive into more?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
So now I'm getting more into like the noir, more like mystery. This is less action, more mystery.
Okay.
So this is the Master of Jinn from the Dead Jinn universe by P. Djeli Clark. So I don't know if you've read any P. Djeli Clark before. No. He does a lot of really great speculative fiction. Some of it is very centered on like social commentary. He did Ring Shout, which you may have heard of. But anyway, so he wrote this entire series that started with a couple of novellas based on a world that was like the 1930s-ish, 40s-ish Egypt, with the first female minister of magic, like kind of a detective in the Ministry of Magic. Her name is Fatima, and she is this sort of detective in this kind of noir feeling Egypt that goes out and does cases where magic has been used in Egypt at the time.
Love
And
Okay.
they have to figure out like what kind of magic was used, was it regulated, things like that, and if there was any kind of like crime that was committed. And so then it was all put together into a collection. So if you're interested in any of those aspects, this is an amazing sort of novella into book, but also put into one book so you can read it all together.
Was this before Harry Potter or afterwards?
After Harry Potter.
So I wonder if they kind of got the idea from like the because I mean I feel like the Ministry of of Magic in Harry Potter, that's kind of, if it would have been working without the evil compounds happening on the exterior, that's probably what I would imagine they'll be doing.
Or are they
right?
British? I think because the Ministry of Magic is probably based on
Something
like like British like bureaucracy, right?
maybe.
The word ministry, I think, yeah, definitely is based on that kind of British bureaucracy. And Egypt was colonized by the British.
Okay,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Don't give extra credit to
No,
Rawle.
no, no,
colonizers.
no, no. Yeah, I don't want to do that. And I
I'm
really
just
thought about
kidding.
it because I was just like, I don't like to mention her as much anymore.
No,
That's
you're
right,
though.
that's
I
right.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So because you've got all of the aspects of like the noir, the 30s, the Egyptian, the jinn, all of those things, and you've got the first woman detective that's in the agency. I think there's a lot of really cool
That's cool.
aspects
Yeah.
to that.
As soon as you said noir, I'm like, I'm in.
I also
love
love
that
a noir.
theme.
I know.
Ugh,
I love a bureaucratized magic system.
it's so good. I'm just
Yeah.
imagining trench coats, hats, mystery alleys.
Absolutely.
Oh,
You know, she's got her
yes.
fedora on.
Of course.
Yeah.
She's our
yeah.
Carmen San Diego.
Absolutely. She's amazing. And if you're into something like that, then you're really going to be into this one that goes with my next two recommendations. So my next two recommendations are basically my Agatha Christie recommendations. So these are for people that love a locked room mystery.
Mhm.
So this is, you're going to think that I'm pulling your leg on this one, but this is called The Mimicking of Known Successes. It's by Malka Older. And the locked room in this one is the planet of Jupiter. So I know you think there's no way, it's an entire huge gas planet, but because of the way that the colony has been so isolated, because it is so far away from Earth and they've been by themselves for so long, it's a really insulated community.
Mhm.
And there's just no way that the crime that was committed could have been committed by anybody outside this community, if that makes sense. So it gives it a real locked room mystery feel when this crime is committed, and there's a detective who has to figure out who it was that did it. And she's amazing. She's kind of a Sherlock Holmes, a little bit like neuroatypical.
Mhm.
And she's trying to figure out how it happened, and she's got this partner who she works with in the college. The college is really interesting too, because there's two parts of the college. One that like wants to study Earth as if it's like the old like culture, and then there's a whole other part of the college that wants to leave Earth behind and only study the new culture.
I'm into that one.
Yeah.
I want that college.
And so so they're kind of battling, and the crime is committed within the college, and so they're trying to figure out was it something to do with these two colleges being against each other. Anyway, it's fascinating and fun and quirky and a lot of fun. So it does kind of also go with that noir feel.
Yeah.
They set it up as kind of having that sort of feel within the community itself, but it also has that locked room mystery feel.
Mm-hmm. I kind of love it when you start kind of putting into these type of stories like the new versus old, kind of like how you were mentioning, because that is just such a, I don't want to, like a human behavior of always wanting to differentiate yourself versus old versus new. So like, even when you put into the sci-fi themes, I don't know, it's fun.
No, you know what it was making me think of is Asimov's Foundation series,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
there's the Henry Selick
Yes.
camp, and then there's the Empire camp. You know, it's like it's a structure that works really well.
Yeah, because we all want to do it all the time.
Yeah, and maybe I'm not on the. I don't want to look now. I'm looking and I'm like, I don't know if the new camp is good. I take it back.
The new camp is always kind of evil,
Yeah, they
actually.
are kind of evil.
That tracks. I'm just kidding.
I'm just like the Earth is sort of evil too. It's tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
We
right,
gotta
absolutely.
learn from our mistakes, though.
Yeah. The other locked room mystery one is called Murder by Memory. And it's a novella, and it's about kind of a colony ship that's traveling, and everybody has kind of uploaded their memory so they can download themselves into new bodies or their old or different bodies that look like them, but also other bodies if they wanted to. And a murder is committed where the body and the memory are destroyed. And so they have to wake up their one policeman who had kind of gone in retirement and hadn't downloaded into a body. And so that's a locked room mystery because it's like it's all within the confines of the ship. So she has to figure out what happened and who committed that crime.
That's fun.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. So that one is by Olivia Waite.
Olivia Waite.
Yeah.
That one's fun. I also kind of I love it when the idea of like downloading your memories into something. 'Cause I feel like that, in my opinion, that I don't know anything about sci-fi. That's probably something that's gonna happen. That's what I think. Like in a future, probably far away from us.
Would you do it?
Oh, I totally would.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I would totally do it. Yeah, especially because it's my subconscious.
I wrote like 10,000 words of a novel about doing that, and like that there was a whole conspiracy about what happened to your old body once you uploaded and everything. And then I watched Altered Carbon, and I was like, crap.
There's a few. I mean, there's Upload, which is like the lighter version of Altered Carbon. I am kind of obsessed with the mechanics of that and like who's maintaining like the servers that your consciousness is uploaded into. Like that, I want to see that story. I want to see like the lowly maintenance worker who's maintaining a server full of people's consciousnesses. That's like, God damn it, this one's getting hot. It's kind of like I'm running out of money. I'm really tired today. So whoops.
There's a whole side of that in Fall or Dodge in Hell. I don't know if you've read, if you've heard of that one by Neil Stephenson, where one guy has his consciousness uploaded, and basically like there's a whole like it becomes an industry. And so then they have to figure out where to put the servers, and then they've got servers and like on the moon and servers like around the earth, and they're like they're making like rings around the earth to make enough servers for everybody who's uploaded. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a problem. Like, everybody's going to want to do it.
So the reason I even thought about this too is like years ago, there was this American Life episode that was about this guy who started this agency for cryogenically freezing people. And basically like his job was to maintain the bodies of these cryogenically frozen people. But he was completely incapable of doing it for long term. Like he was having financial issues.
Right.
He really wasn't. I mean, obviously there's no like certification in this, but like he didn't have the knowledge to maintain these life forms, but he had sold this huge bill of goods. And then the family started being like, no, we don't want to pay to like store them anymore. And it was all about like the mishaps he had in trying to keep these bodies in an okay like state, and they would like lose power sometimes, and the bodies would slightly unfreeze, or like something would chip off on one of them, and it's basically just about like the very real experience of this. So I feel like it's the same thing. We're doomed to repeat ourselves is my point.
Yeah we're gonna keep doing it until maybe we might figure something out.
If if we don't have robot overlords and humans are responsible for it, we're gonna fuck it up for sure.
Yeah
For sure.
Yeah. Well, the robot overlords are coming, so we'll see.
Oh my God.
One of my big recommendations, if you haven't started it yet and you really love a good like mystery thriller, is the In Death series by J.D. Robb.
Okay.
So this is a 55 book series.
Oh my gosh.
That she started writing in the 90s.
Okay.
It definitely shows its age. So if you go back, especially because I didn't start reading these until just a couple of years ago because I didn't even know they existed.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows its age in the fact that there is some misogyny, a little bit of homophobia. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like just little bits of things that like now we would be much more careful with. That we weren't before.
Okay.
So just little things like that, little casual racism. You know what I'm saying?
Just a smidge, a dash of
Just your
homophobia,
pinch of
But it's like,
racism.
you know what I'm saying? Like you go back and read Asimov, and the misogyny is insane, right? Like, but this is like not as bad, obviously. But it's about a detective called Eve Dallas. She has a very checkered past. She was a foster child. She was found in Dallas, and she had been abused, and she clearly was like, she had been obviously very badly abused as a child, did not remember what had happened to her, and was raised in the foster system. And she decided that she was going to be a person who would advocate for people who had had bad things happen to them and become a policeman. And so she did, and now she is a lieutenant in the police force in New York City. And she's hard as nails and tough as whatever.
She's our Olivia Benson.
Tough as guns. Exactly.
Yeah,
Olivia Benson, she's going after all the bad guys, and she meets this incredibly charming, gorgeous, wealthy, Irish guy who's, who falls head over heels in love with her and like, chips away at her bad girl persona and, sluttily takes her to bed into his heart. And they become, this power couple, right? Because you have to have a little bit of sex. It's pretty tame, pretty tame smut. But you get the action, you get the mystery, you get the sex, you get everything all rolled into one, and it's a sci-fi background because it's set in the future. It's set about 150 years in the future. Really, it was just, I think the sci-fi stuff was just an excuse for her to have like flying cars and stuff like that in her story, which is fine because we all love it. So the people that are like totally into this are like totally into this. Like there's a cat in the story. There's like whole fandoms just for the cat.
Listen, I am a cheap audience. Whenever you put an amazing like pet, cat, dog, whatever in a book, I'm in. Like that's what happened with Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah,
I'm like, there's a cat.
Donut. Yeah,
I'm like, this is amazing. I'm in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this series has diehard fans. It has literally for decades. But like, yeah, even for me, somebody that picked it up just a couple of years ago, like, yeah, I'm down. I'll read a couple of them every year. And like I said, she's still churning them out. Like this is Nora Roberts writing as J.D. Robb. So even with all the other things that she's writing, she's still putting out the in-depth series.
It's Nora Roberts?
It's Nora Roberts.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
See, and that's where I'm like, yeah, it is Law and Order for
It is Law and Order for sci-fi.
Like, there's problematic things in that show too.
Right,
like,
right.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah,
That's
you cannot
right.
do a show for 30 years without some problems.
Exactly. And then the last one that I read for the show was this book, Even Though I Knew the End, which was a little more speculative fiction. This was about a woman who has sold her soul to a demon. She did it when she was about 10 years before, and so now she is kind of forced to use her magic, kind of like she was magical before, but now she's kind of forced to use it like more as a bounty hunter a little bit. This is set back in the 1940s, and it's sapphic, so they're having to hide, their relationship. So it's very noir feeling again. She's trying to use her magic to uncover who this killer is, and she's doing it in service of this demon who's looking for who the killer is. So it's very, it's not, I'm not going to say convoluted, but there's a lot of things happening in the story. And so we have angels and demons, we've got magic, we've got noir, we've got sapphic. There's a lot of really cool things that are happening in this book. So it's called Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk, and I really did enjoy it. It's not very long. It was only like an 8-hour listen. So I definitely recommend that one for somebody that's looking into trying out something that's speculative.
I love that.
I want to read every single one of
This
these,
is
but I
like-
feel like I'm signing on for a true universe and on some of these.
And
Yeah.
some of them will take definitely some time investment to kind of get through them. But I'm so glad that you're here because you just introduced us to a whole bunch of different writers that I had never heard of. And there's just so much space out there for whatever type of genre or like whatever kind of rabbit hole you want to get yourself
Right.
down through. Like you're going to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. There's a couple of books that I didn't get to that were introduced to me just looking at this list. One of them is called The City and the City. It blends fantasy, crime, fiction, and speculative fiction into a story about two cities. So like you have to go back and forth between the two. There's a portal.
That is
sounds
cool.
I just
really
immediately thought
cool.
of Twin Cities by Charles Dickens,
Right, right.
Is that what it is?
No, Tale of Two Cities, you
Oh,
mean?
Tale of Two Cities.
A
Twin
Tale-
Cities is my
Something else.
hometown. That's Minneapolis.
That's
St. Paul.
something
Yeah.
else.
I was like, what is my brain thinking that? But it was a Tale of Two Cities. What I was thinking of.
There's one that's called When Gravity Fails, a gritty Norrish underground mystery set in the Middle East in the year 2172.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, some of these are a little bit older. And then there's one called Station Eternity, a murder mystery set on an alien space station.
Great. Love an
love
alien
that.
space station.
Yeah. That's a classic monster that I love.
Yeah, a classic monster that I love. Absolutely.
We have a couple too. I think we want to add to the
Yeah.
list. And I'm
Nice.
curious to see if you've read any of
Okay.
them. Magda, you want to kick us off? Because I know that this is one that you introduced us to.
So for me, whenever I get the chance, I'm always going to bring up Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. It is an incredible, and it's one that it's science fiction because it involves technologies that we don't
It
really
involves
have.
science.
It
Hard
involves a lot of
science,
science,
yes.
yeah. And there's an amazing show that has been done by Apple TV. So if you don't want to read the book, go watch the show.
The show
because
is a pretty close adaptation. Too.
Really,
Have you
really
seen it?
close.
I've seen part of it. I haven't finished it yet.
It's good.
It's good. It's
close,
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's going to be dealing with a lot of multiple alternative realities based on like the decisions that you make throughout life, and it's just kind of like a fun, really fast-paced story, and I absolutely loved it. I think for me that was one of my I picked up by random, and it was amazing, and I still think about it.
It was the show that did the best job ever of explaining the concept of Schrodinger's cat to me.
Yeah.
Like from a
Right.
technical standpoint.
Right,
Or not
yeah.
like the cat is there and not there, but like what does that actually mean in physics?
What's happening in the box?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
It's good.
Yeah.
Then think about the next one.
Okay, the next one is my latest obsession. I'm certain that you've read these. I'm obsessed with the show too, and that's The Murderbot Diaries by
Yes.
Martha Wells.
Amazing.
They just
Yeah.
go down easy. You're going to finish them. You can easily finish them in one sitting. There's a television adaptation that is also very good. And you get to look at Alexander Skarsgård the entire time, which is like not a bad
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it is like I think it's 7 short stories, I believe.
Yeah.
If not, and I think a
There's
couple of
there
them.
is a full novel.
There's
Yeah.
one. But
yeah.
they're
And they have
fun.
started putting them into volumes.
Like a compendium. Yeah.
Mhm. I like that.
I have this again. That kind of makes me crazy though, because we have the same experience with Wool, which is another
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of mystery, I guess.
Yeah,
sci-fi
no, I would say
novel.
that's a sci-fi mystery. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was obsessed with those books when they first came out. And I told Magda, like, oh, that series is really short. And she went to go buy the books and she was like, it's not short at all. It's like 500. But it's because, like, the second part of those books, so, like, I had only read the Wool series, which came out as novellas.
Right.
And then they followed them up with, was it like Dust and I can't remember what the other two compendiums are, but we like had this back and forth of being like, why do I remember these as tiny?
Okay, I have to add one thing. The City in the City is by C.L. Melville.
Okay.
Oh no way!
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I forgot. That was the reason it was on my list, but I'd
Okay.
forgotten that.
This
Yeah.
is a little callback to our Berserker episode, right?
Yes, yes.
I haven't read any of his writing, but I've heard very interesting things about it.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out
Yeah.
for y'all because I
Yes,
knew you
okay.
would be interested in
What
that.
was the name of the book? Everything? No, I forget the name of the book with Keanu Reeves.
The Book of Ever.
The Book of Elsewhere.
The Book of
Yeah,
Elsewhere.
The Book of
Oh my
Elsewhere.
gosh,
Yes.
the
We'll
Book of
cut all-
Elsewhere.
We'll cut all of that.
Yeah,
God.
but yeah, that's he's a very interesting writer. I did not hate that book.
No.
But he comes
No.
across as like a very, and I hate using this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like he comes off as like kind of a masculine writer to me. Like I don't
Oh,
like
yeah,
really
yeah.
like relate to anything that's happening in any of the books.
To me, I have to read it as if it is a movie, if that makes sense. I have to read it as if he's showing me an action film.
Yes.
That
and
makes
then I'm
sense.
okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
That-
that makes
No,
if
it does
that
make
makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah, 1000%.
Because and the way that it cuts from chapter to chapter to different scenes, that you're just like, wait, where am I again? Like you just kind of have to try to piece
Right.
the things together.
If I'm reading it like it's a screenplay, like he's showing me a movie, then I'm okay with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I completely agree. Okay, let's round us out with our
Yeah.
very last one, and then
Then-
we're going to catch up with all the fun things that you've been doing.
Yeah, and then our very last one, and I think this should be
Not a surprise at
not
all.
a surprise. It's going to be Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and we have to start getting ready for the movie that comes out next year. Incredible! I think this is your basic introduction into a sci-fi book that I think everybody's going to enjoy and love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
Yeah.
payoff. You got to pay off for
Yes.
all of these.
Yeah.
And there are a range of tones too. I think in the examples that you gave, there are easy breezy versions of this. Like there are your beach read sci-fi mysteries. There are your intensely dark ones. There are your violent ones. There are your fun ones. I love it. Okay, so this has nothing to do with our topic at all, but you are involved in so many fun extracurricular activities in addition to doing your wine tastings and reading 7 million books a year. You just went to a Jane Austen conference, Magda's Truelove in Life, and I just want to hear all about it, your experience, what happened there. Did you have fun?
Oh my gosh. It's the funnest, geekiest week thing that I do in my whole life. It's the coolest thing. And so the Jane Austen world is full of the coolest people. Like, I mean, you know this.
Oh, yeah.
And they just love to get together and talk about Jane and what she's written. And this group of people was put together by a really cool woman who decided that she wanted to have another time for people to come together and just geek out about Jane Austen. So she has been doing this in North Carolina for the last 10 or 11 years, and it's called the Jane Austen Summer Program. And I heard about it just like on social media, just saw it come across my feed in 2023 and was like, I'm going. And so each year they typically will pick a book of Jane's to like read and talk about and do cool crafts about and bring in speakers and things like that. And so the first year that I went in 2023, it was Jane Austen's Juvenilia. So we read all the Juvenilia and did, Persuasion and Lady Susan. And then this year it was Sense and Sensibility. They didn't have one in 2024. There was some issues with the building they usually used, but this year it was held in New Bern, North Carolina, right by where the governor's palace was reconstructed from the 1700s, and so it was really cool looking, and it looked just like you were in the 1700s, right there with her. And so I actually did a presentation from my social media of people choosing which Dashwood sister they thought they were, Marianne or Eleanor. I got my nails done so that one side is Eleanor and one side is Marianne.
Love the commitment.
Love it. And so they brought in people that talked about embroidery, doing different patterns that would have been from the time, fashion from the time. We had a tea with the Daughters of the American Revolution, so they took us through some of the things that were happening with tea in the 17th during that time in the that's not the 17th century. That would be the
18th century.
18th century.
Yeah. Yep. And we actually you can dress up. So some people dress up every day.
Oh, wow.
In the style of the time. But we all dress up for the ball. So we have a Regency ball and they teach us dances.
I love this.
That's your dream, Magda.
I know. I love
So they bring in
this.
people who know the country dances,
Yeah.
and they bring in a caller, and we have practices during the day for the 3 or 4 days that we're there. And they teach us how to do the dances. And then we come for the Regency ball and we do all the dances. They bring in musicians to play for us.
Wow.
And we do the dances together, and it's just the coolest thing. They
That's
teach us
such
how
a
to
fun
play
time.
whist,
Oh.
which is basically spades. So you can just
Yeah.
play it and say you're playing whist.
Yeah.
So it's so much fun, and it really is just like the coolest thing to be able to go up to any person there and have that connection immediately of loving Jane Austen and knowing things about being able to say, like, what's your favorite book of hers, and being able to talk about it and have, those conversations. And yeah, it's just the neatest thing. It's just the geekiest geekness that ever geeked. And I
But
just
I
love
love
doing
this.
it.
We support that completely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you're kind of with like-minded people that are going to be enjoying having those conversations and learning everything together, which just kind of adds to the experience as a whole. Sometimes we kind of think that we're like very unique, but in reality, there's so many people out there with
Well, not
so
just
many
unique,
commonalities.
but like isolated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just so affirming, and you just get to relax. It's kind of like you're not masking anymore.
Yeah.
You just kind of go, oh, okay, you love it too. That's so exciting.
Exactly. Like one of us. I love it.
Exactly. You show off your sensibility
Yeah.
nails, and they go, oh my gosh, I love your nails.
And they'll appreciate it. Exactly. Oh, I love this. I'm so
Or I
excited.
walk in and you go, look, I love your
I know.
boiled
I know.
potato a t-shirt.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's one of the best things.
Yeah,
Oh.
it is.
One day I'll do one of those. I
Yeah,
love
well,
it.
next year it's in Pennsylvania, so
Ooh, that would be fun.
I know, right?
I do like
You're called to Pennsylvania.
Listen, I have family that live there, and I spend a lot of my
Oh.
falls in Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, by the way.
Okay,
so
shout
just
out
saying.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
I think you gave us a ton of amazing recommendations today. We are so grateful. We will keep you all updated as we read through them, which we will make a valiant effort to do.
Yep.
And
We'll put all of them up in our socials too,
Yes.
so it'll be nice and easy for everybody to have access to them. So So thank you so much for coming to the podcast live. It was so much better to have you in person, I
Yes.
think.
Oh, yeah.
Go check Michelle out at Bibliovino online. You can get a peek at all of her amazing wine pairings and live episodes with authors.
A lot of book reviews, a
So
lot
many
of
book reviews.
them.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to Literally Books, the podcast.
Where we say what we read.
And we mean what we say. Bye.
Bye.